And right now, where we're at financially, you want as many people to, we're in this like pay to play, which is, where I don't think a lot of people fully grasp. They have their ideas on where we should be compared to like where where I feel, and we're in this pay to play. And what I mean by that is like we have like 6 qualifiers in the next 6 weeks or something. Those qualifiers wins get to come to the national. The national is also going to have an on-site qualifier. And some people, you're kind of mad about that. They're like, well, if I win, why would I go win this qualifier? It's like, well, if you win the qualifier, you automatically get to go to the finals. And you get a discount to get there, like a really good discount. And because we give you that discount, we need like 10 people to show up and at least try on the on-site to pay to offset that, as well as we want them to have a good time. And we're trying to find this way to push the best. And I wouldn't say the worst. I would just say like the less skilled, the more hobby driven, not motivated at the same time in the same space. Because that's the only way profitability wise right now too, it also works, that we could pay for it to then also pay to do another one in the future. So there's a lot of variables when you're designing these competitions as well as these courses. But for me, always the number one thing is safety, because if people break a bone, they're probably not coming back. They also could potentially sue. Also, it takes up the whole competition stops because somebody's injured on the course. Also, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sponsorships also look at it. Like, look at
I've been in a competition once or twice where the injury just kind of like kills the vibe real hard.
As it absolutely should.
As it should, obviously, yeah. I mean, but like, yeah, it's just like, oof, yeah, that's no fun.
100%. And that's what's funny is that's why the sport was so. Whenever growing up, and I tell people I do parkour, they're like, oh, do you want to die? And I'm like, no, like no, not. That's a weird question. And they're like, well, then why do you do that? I'm like, because I'm drawn to doing it. I like doing it. I'm good at it. And they'd just be like, well, I just think you should just take care of yourself. And I'm like, I do. And there would always be this thing, just make sure you know what you're doing. I do. And then eventually came to a certain point where I'm like, I've never broke a bone. I've made a living off it. I'm still passionate about it. I've helped thousands upon thousands of people be able to do it and not get hurt. Like it comes to a certain point, to where you just kind of look back and you think about it, and it's that's the constant battle too, is like, I love Storr, I love Joe Scandrett, I love Dom Tomaso a lot. I respect everything they're doing. And obviously it's true, because those are the main videos I normally have parents show me, and they're like, you're asking kids to do this? I'm like, no, I'm not asking any kid to do that. Like those, that's the cream of the crop. That's the top. That's where it should be, where they should be. Your kid shouldn't be there yet. Maybe one day, I don't know, but we're going to start here. I'm going to show you things, and they got to choose that one day. And wouldn't you rather they had some kind of education in it first? Like when I did it, I saw Jackie Chan jump a roof as a kid in Rumble in the Bronx. I remember watching that trailer on cable.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just sitting there as a kid, and I remember my uncle at the time looked over to my stepdad at the time and just goes, that guy just flew. And I was like, and I remember that moment, how much that impacted me. Just like, whoa. And then I remember like watching the movie on VHS many years later, and I'm like, I want to do that. And I sure enough did. And nobody, I didn't get, any of the training. There was no talking about that I was aware of or anything. So wouldn't you at least let your kid be trained first and like stuck, and then obviously as a coach, it's your responsibility to not say, you guys have to go jump a roof someday or something or whatever. But, that's like the kind of the outlook I've always had on it with competition as well. Is same with UFC. If their fighter gets KO'd, that's probably, 4 fights less that they're ever going to be able to perform. So you want to help them grow and push them, but you obviously don't want to break them. And that's how I think about the same with, I think about it like with pro wrestling, like we talked about, where Vince McMahon has to have them on the road 52 weeks a year. So it's how do we push it? How do we entertain the audience? How do you get what you want as a performer? But keep in mind, like, we're professionals. This is a career. This is like, you know, we can't have you break yourself. So our gameplays and criterias take safety into account also, where I know some people, not, discredit whatever, will like to push other ways, which you have to, right? There's got to be that extreme. We do this because the most entertaining things happen. Okay. Do that. If we do this because there's the most injuries, then in my opinion, as a federation or competition director, if there's injuries happening, you should be changing the criteria. That's your job, is creating the safest environment for the sport to grow.